Great.
Slate.
Let me
Wee.
note it so that you know where. Although I guess we haven't talked. That doesn't have to be right now. Question: Who's editing this? I guess we could
Uh,
do one and one. Anyway,
yeah,
we'll
that would
figure
be
it out.
ideal.
Yeah.
If you have the bandwidth to record one of them, that would be, or edit one of them, record.
Yeah, I'll record this one, but I won't be on the next one if that's okay.
If you have the bandwidth to edit at least one of them, that would be cool.
Hi, welcome back to the fic list.
Woo! You did the intro this time, not me.
I know. I felt awkward because I was like, I wasn't sure if you were about to launch into it, and I was like, you know what? No, it's my time to shine. I'm gonna do it.
I'm gonna lay claim to this one. That's exciting. Hello, Alan. How are you?
I'm a little jet lagged, Erin. I just got back from California on a work trip. It was lovely. Got some sun, and usually I'm more of a like dreary, rainy, cold day kind of boy, but it was nice to live my Cali dreams for a sec.
You are a Pacific Northwest girly rather than a California girly.
Yeah, absolutely. That
Yeah.
Wow, I'm gonna add that to my Tinder profile from now on.
I'm a Pacific Northwest girly. Are you from there? No.
No. Have you been there? No.
No.
But I feel it in my heart.
Yeah, it's
Thanks,
just,
Twilight.
it's about vibes.
Yes, the aesthetic, the vibes. You get it. How are you, Erin?
I'm good. I started a new job. I've been like sleeping,
Yes.
which is kind of insane. I went to bed at 9:30 one day this week,
Oh.
and I was like, "Who are you? What is happening?" Because I mean, honestly, I was like dealing with some really severe burnout, and there were periods of time in my previous job where like I could not fall asleep. I saw the wrong side of 5:30 a.m. more than once.
Oh no,
It was-
Erin.
Yeah, I don't think I told really anybody.
No, you
how
certainly
bad it
did
was.
not.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where it was like I had been through worse before, so I was like, it's fine. This is tolerable. No friends. It was not tolerable. So I have since changed jobs and taken a break and done all those things, and it's been a lot better. It's been
Good.
a lot better. I've been able to fall asleep at like reasonable hours, and I don't get the sense like my previous therapist, who I no longer see, but whatever, when I were talking about like revenge procrastination and revenge bedtime stuff,
Oh.
which is a thing that you do when you feel like you don't have enough free time during the day, or like
Oh,
you don't get
yeah.
enough time for yourself during the day. Like you just sort of take it out of like the very, very late night hours because that's the time that like people don't bother you, and then you screw yourself over because you don't sleep. And she was like, yeah, that seems to be what you're doing. That's a very classic burnout thing. And I was like, okay. Did you have to bring that up?
I do not pay to be seen in that way.
Right.
Just tell me how to fix my life.
Because it was therapy. But, you know, whatever, it's fine. Yeah. So anyway, I haven't been doing that, which has been super great. And I think actually daylight savings time, as much as daylight savings time is like a nightmare, I think it really helped because my body wants to go to bed
Earlier.
at 9:30 now, which is 10:30 body time still. So it's been great.
I'm glad to hear it. And yeah, we're gonna have a chat about this scene, the wrong end of 5 a.m. later.
Yeah.
But I'm so
it was
glad
bad.
that you're on a better place now, in a better place.
I am in a better place. I crossed the rainbow bridge
No.
into, I don't know, a better sleep cycle.
I
Yeah.
will remember you. Erin, we can't sing that. Copyright.
We're gonna get copy straight. Why did you start it then? What? You should know by now that if there is a song, I will sing it. You cannot stop me.
Anyway,
Fan fiction. I guess we should
Yeah.
talk about it, huh?
this is wild. I feel like usually we have like a debrief of a long like, oh yeah, this is how we've been, and now we're like, yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Hey, I'll take it, man.
Absolutely.
It feels like the year is winding down a little bit. This is we're
Thank
recording in mid-November, friends. So we'll see how long it takes these episodes to go up. And hey, maybe this is our holiday episode. TBD.
Happy holidays if that's the case.
Happy holidays, happy New Year. What a summer, you know.
What?
It could be anything. We did do that once where we recorded in October and posted them in May.
Yeah, what was our brand new was? Oh man, that was hilarious.
We were like Christmas in May.
Question mark.
Oops. That was funny. Anyway, I mean, it does feel a little bit like we're coming into like wind down season, which is kind of nice. So maybe that's the energy, is us being chill for the first time ever.
I agree. Yeah, and then there's a certain air in at least like at my job, and like I feel like most jobs start to like feel like, oh well, Thanksgiving is around the corner, and like the holidays, and people don't really work during like holidays time, and I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, that makes sense.
I'm very lucky now in this new job where that is the case. Previously in the museum, this was one of the busier times of the year, Thanksgiving being the
Oh, that makes
busiest weekend
sense.
of the year. Yeah,
Ah.
because everyone has their family in town and they all need to find shit to do. But yeah, that's not the case for me anymore. So now I'm like, woohoo, I get the whole week off at Christmas. Everything's great.
Hell yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
gonna be
that.
super fun. I'm gonna do absolutely nothing. I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna sit my ass on the couch and not worry
Good.
about it. It's gonna
And
be
it's
great.
what you deserve.
Thank you. We deserve rest.
Yeah. You deserve rest. You deserve peace.
Oh, thanks. Oh, shucks. So do you, a lot.
Oh, stop.
Nah.
Yeah, I
Fanfiction.
guess we should launch into some fan fiction now that you're all caught up on where we are.
Yeah. Now that all the boring pleasantries are out of the way, what are we talking about today, Alan?
All right, rude.
I'm kidding.
We are doing a very exciting tag today. We are doing a arranged mariage tag.
Which for the layman folk out there is arranged marriage.
Oh, I'm sorry. It doesn't. Not everyone speaks French.
I could speak French too. Mais oui, je suis manatee. Si.
Je m'appelle
Omelette du
Omelette
fromage.
du fromage. Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry to all the French speakers out there. No, I'm not. But I mean, hey, it's fine.
Yeah, sorry to our French listenership.
Yeah. I mean, am I though? I was once yelled at very aggressively at a French airport. So.
Oh. Well,
Yeah.
you know what? Fuck the French. Just
Yeah.
kidding. I'm just joking. Oh no, I'm gonna be canceled. I'm gonna be canceled.
There's a headline tomorrow on Twitter which is dying, but it's Alan hates French people. We can't even touch the Twitter stuff right now. Like, we'll
Oh,
just be here for
man.
3 hours. But yeah, no, it's wild. But yeah, no. So tell me more about why you hate the French.
You know what? I'm gonna say it. Their bread subpar. I'm just joking. I'm absolutely just kidding.
I felt offended on their behalf. Oh
I'm
my
joking.
god.
Their food is incredible. The only thing I've ever heard, I've never been to France, but I've like on Reddit and stuff, people usually talk shit about like Paris, and they say that they're really like rude and like racist. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that was my experience when I went to France.
Well,
I hate to say it. Some people were lovely. I don't think it's fair to categorize an
The
entire
entire, yeah.
country of people
Absolutely.
one way or
Agreed.
the other. But as I said, I did get yelled at very aggressively for not understanding convoluted instructions in the French airport. Yelled at me in French. I was like,
Yikes.
throw it out there that I'm coming in through the international's arrival, and maybe yelling at me in French is not the most useful thing you could do, Charles de Gaulle. But and then it was very Paris was kind of odd. It was an interesting experience. I'm glad I went. I went a long time ago in college and just went for Friendsgiving one year, and it was super fun. But,
oh, I love that.
yeah, it was very hit or miss. Some people were extremely kind and really helped us out, but some people were not very nice.
Yeah, I still want to go at some point, but
yeah,
it's on the list.
Yeah, it is on the list. I would love to go to Italy. Anyway, we're getting like off topic about arranged.
You know what we should do? Let's organize like a group trip. Do any listeners y'all want? Let's go to Italy.
You say
we'll do a
that.
tour.
Meanwhile, I'm thinking, how do I segue from Europe? I was like, okay, we could go from Europe to arranged marriage. They did that a fair amount.
Sure did.
Historically, that was a thing that happened, especially in the monarchy. We're also not going to touch the queen dying. Anyway.
Rip in peace.
Rip Queen. Anyway.
Queen Liz.
Oh, Lizzie. Yeah, anyway. Arranged marriage. That's what we're here to talk about today, Alan.
Yep.
Do you read arranged marriage fic? Because I proposed this tag, and I was like, I wonder if he reads this.
I have to admit, I really did when I was like a teenager. Probably something. Oh my god, This is gonna be a little like, oh, Alan, are you okay? And I am. Remember, this was when I was a teenager, but I think there was something that really drew me in about like, oh, someone has to marry me, and then they can't leave. Something about that, I was like, that sounds great. I don't have to worry about a husband, and then they just fall in love with me with my charming self once I have them. I love that.
That's we can unpack that at a a later date. Well, it's very similar to a thing that's going around on TikTok. That was like, you don't like X trope. You just like this real life thing. The one that I've seen a lot of is, you don't like enemies to lovers. You just want somebody to see all of your flaws and love you anyway.
Did you send me that? Because I've seen that.
I might have. Because I was just like, I've been murdered by this TikTok. I was like, this is a hit. What the fuck?
Oh, you've sunk my battleship.
Yeah, it was like, oh no. And so, yeah, that's kind of what it's like. It's like, you don't like arranged marriage. You just like not having to date and finding someone who has to love you and then like having it work out.
Yep. I'm so glad we put a name to that.
Yeah. That sounds like something to put on the shelf in a box and not worry about.
Right. But what I'm saying is, like, that I used to be really into when I was younger. And so I read a lot of it, and I haven't in a while, which is not to say that I had an aversion to it. When you proposed it, I was actually like, oh, that's awesome. It's been so long since I've read one. That being said, I feel like I struggled to find fic for it, which is really interesting because I feel like back in the fanfiction.net days, I could throw like a stone and hit like 10 fucking arranged marriage fics in a row. That I would love and that were well written or that were in my fandom. And this time I was like, I had a very specific fandom that I wanted. And I mean, it's not a surprise. It was Naruto, because I was like, I need some like comfort. I want like my OTP. That's what I want to read. And I know also I read a fair amount of those when I was younger. And I was like, I know there's at least some with some merit that I would love to talk about. And I could not find any. I did all my searches and they were like two search results, and they were not anything of what I had read before. And I was like, oh, well, let's try this other fandom. That fandom didn't have anything. And then I was like, oh, fuck it, just give me the general thing. I guess I'm gonna have to like parse through and find something. Yeah. So I am interested in this kind of shift over from what seemed to be like a really populated tag that a lot of people were writing for, and now it feels like it's maybe not as prevalent. What has been your experience with it, Erin?
It was not something that I ever got really into, other than as a sort of ancillary tag to other things. So I get very into enemies to lovers, I get very into wump, I get very into angsty stuff, and very often one of the circumstantial tags that can happen when you fall into those kinds of categories is arranged marriage, because it is a great vehicle for angst.
It sure is.
Yeah, so I didn't necessarily seek it out. It's something that I enjoy reading, but don't actively sort of like pursue the way that I like go searching for other things. I had a handful of arranged marriages, like a handful.
Oh, congratulations.
No. I had a handful of fics, like arranged marriage fics, that I could have sent you. One of which was a epic in the Magicians fandom. Please note I did not send that to Alan, because I sent these
Bless
fics.
you.
We just picked this tag like 4 days ago, and I was like, that's just mean. I can't send him a 300,000 word thing.
And also, we would not be sitting with you today, listeners. No, I would not have finished it.
No, I was like, this recording would be delayed another 3 weeks, and we just didn't have that in us. So I didn't send it. However, it is a Harriet fanfiction, and it's really good. So obviously I have some, I have space in my heart for arranged marriage fics. I think they're great, but I don't know that I ever really sought them out. I never approached them either the way that you did, of like, oh, this is a thing that like somebody would have to love me. Like, that didn't occur to me. So I think I just always sort of saw it as like a fun, angsty premise upon which I could enjoy myself. Several of my friends in life are huge arranged marriage fic fans. Yeah.
Wow.
Hi Mary, hi Emily. And so I have been sent arranged marriage fics by other people to read.
Love that.
Because they've just really, really loved them. So I think the people who are really into these kinds of fics, like, are really into it, is what I'm gathering. It's a great premise.
Yeah, I agree. It lends itself, and like kind of what you were saying, it lends itself to so many things. It's a great vehicle. I think you can add some angst, or you can make it like really like fluffy and comforting and like slow burn, or it can be like an immediate like fire kind of a thing. Like, yeah, it's kind of like the white rice of fanfic. I feel like you could just add anything to it and it'll be great. So malleable. Yep.
And yeah, there's some fun. We could spin that out a little bit, and it would be super fun. It's like sometimes it's sushi, sometimes it's hibachi rice. I don't know.
If you've had it for a day, just throw some fried rice.
Yeah,
make a fried rice dish.
You make the best of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, wild. Anyway, now I'm hungry.
So you kind of touched on like you like some angst in your arranged marriage. Is there anything else? Is there any other like themes consistently that you love to see in an arranged marriage fic?
One of the things that I don't tend to read very much of, and it can be a thing with arranged marriage, is like really it can tip into like Dead Dove Do Not Eat. It can tip into non-con. It can dip into like the much darker fics.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that I don't read fics that get really dark, because I do, but this fic tends not, or this tag rather, tends not to be a setup in which I will go for the much, much darker stuff. Because I think there can be an imbalance of power that gets dicey for me, and I don't tend to love that kind of dynamic. I know that is something that we could have a whole conversation about this. There is a whole debate, again, the debate that comes back every couple of years, about whether or not really super dark fics should even exist. I'm of the opinion that if you tag it, it's fair game. So I know there are people out there who like that's their jam and that's what they want to be reading, and they explore those kinds of really, really dark themes. Not my particular avenue from this one. So I tend to avoid fics where there's like a huge power imbalance or there's any sort of like abuse or anything like that happening in there. And sometimes I will click out of it if it starts to head that way. But the flip side of that is I really love when arranged marriage fics, it's like both parties are like really confused or otherwise like generally just like, I don't really know what's happening, and like I am nervous, or like I don't know how to be in this marriage situation. And like when both people like the best, this is a long way to get to what the best is. It is a really good avenue for idiots in love and mutual bonding, where it's like both of them think the other person is only there and continuing to be there out of obligation, but actually they both are falling in love with each other, but they just like don't communicate that. I love that shit. That's the best. I love idiots in love. It's so good. So yeah, I think that's where I live in the arranged marriage sort of like preferred tropes question. What about you?
Yeah, I think similarly, sometimes I do read some of the darker stuff, maybe not super dark, but you know, sometimes I do feel like a little spice is nice. But for the most part, and I was just thinking about this, is I tend to like really like rom-com-y arranged marriage fics, you know, like very humorous, maybe light, but also has like a like, oh my god, like there's a falling out and then there's a reconciliation kind of at the end. Like I like something that is a little meaty, literally like a rom-com. Which also, I was just thinking about it as you were speaking. I feel like recently in the mainstream, a lot of like of the rom-coms that have been coming out or that I've been seeing, and like the books that I've been reading, have had a strong element of like fanfic like tags. Like I can be like, oh, this is definitely like a this tag. And arranged marriage has not made the leap, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know that we as a society ever really want to kind of acknowledge that, or at least not like Western, like American lens society is not ready to make that leap. And that's an interesting dichotomy, I find.
Yeah, I think you're right. Of all, I think the whole like published literature and TV shows and stuff that are like either directly derivative of fanfic or like pulling from fanfic is much more common. I've been seeing that more and more and more, like especially with Raylo stuff.
Oh yeah.
A lot of Raylo has like made the mainstream leap, and I'm like it used to be Twilight and now it's Raylo. Like that's just kind of how it's going. That was like interesting. So yeah, to a degree it's like, it's interesting that we haven't, that there are certain things that have not crossed over, arranged marriage being one of them. I wonder, I don't know that Americans specifically, like media is this tactful, but maybe it's because like arranged marriage is a thing that still happens in non-American culture. Maybe that's just like a thing that we have decided that we're like not gonna do, or again, like we just don't want to go through, like we don't want to look back at our own sort of colonialist history and like European fuckery. I don't know. Yeah, you're right.
Yep. I think those are all very, very valid points. Yeah, that's interesting.
It is interesting.
And I'll be interested. I mean, I feel like inevitably someone is going to make that leap, and I will be interested to see A, if it's good, and B, if how it's embraced or
Yeah.
shunned.
Yeah. I think the closest we get currently is fake dating.
Yeah, true.
It has a similar element of like two people who are in this relationship, not necessarily because they're interested in being in a relationship, but for some other purpose, having to navigate that. And then again, idiots in love can happen, like all kinds of things. Like it's like a parallel construct where the origination of the thing is different, but it's sort of a similar vibe in how it plays out.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's a great connect.
Mm-hmm. I'm so smart.
You really are. Congratulations.
Thanks. My brain. I have a good one.
It's a good brain. Great. So we should talk about some fics now. Would you like to start or should I?
Oh, I was just going to ask you that question.
I know. That's why I jumped ahead of you.
You're such a bitch.
It's true.
It's true.
It's me.
I don't mind starting.
Great.
Yeah. I need to tell you, dearest Alon, that when I opened up our little Google Doc and saw not only this fic, but also the next fic that we're going to talk about in the next episode, I said out loud, "Oh my god." And in this episode, readers, it'll be because this fic comes out of fucking left field. And I thought to myself, really? He's going to go there. Okay. I didn't know we were doing crack fics, but okay. And then what's cool is it's not a crack fic at all. He sent me a fic called Primped and Polished Till You Glow with Pride. If you know, you know. The author of Vagabond Dawn on Archive of Our Own. In the fandom, Mulan, parentheses, 1998.
Who is that girl I see?
Yeah, wild. I was like, I guess, yeah, if it exists, there's fanfic of it. I see what you're doing in terms of choosing a new fandom for each episode, by the way. I clocked it.
Well, to be fair, I looked very hard for something in my OTPs and found nothing and said, well, fuck it.
Fuck it, I'm gonna go find Mulan fic.
Well, so here's a little journey for you, Aaron and dear listeners. I was in California, and this fic I needed to find, and I needed to put in the doc by yesterday, so that Aaron had at least 24 hours to read it. Mm-hmm. And I was already like looking under like between 10 and 15,000 words because I was like, that feels like a good chunk. Like I read that in an hour, so that means Aaron's done with it in like 20 minutes. So let's just look for that range. And I was really trying to find something on Thursday night, and I was in my hotel in San Francisco, like literally like my eyes were like so droopy, and I was reading through fanfic. I was and I couldn't find anything, and I found like an X-Men one that I was like, okay, let's try this. And I was reading it, and I was like, I'm sorry, Aaron. In my head, I was like, I'm sorry, I need to put this in the fic before I get on the plane tomorrow morning at 5:30. And I think it's just gonna have to be this one, and I'm gonna hope that it's like okay. And it started off okay, and I was like, okay. And then it just took like a really weird left turn, and it ended in a really weird place. And I finished that fic, and I was like, it's gonna have to do. You're gonna have to take the L on this one, Alan. And I went to bed and woke up 4 hours later, got to the airport, and I had like maybe an hour before I had to board, because thankfully security was really quick. And I was like, come on, Alan, let's do one more good faith effort, find something. And I was like scrolling, and I found and there was just this one sole Mulan fic in between all of the search results, and I was like, that can't be good. Like that can't possibly be like better quality than the X-Men one. And I read it, and as I was halfway through, I wasn't even done. I was like 3/4 of the way done when they started boarding, and I was like, unless the author really does something outlandish with the ending, right, it's gonna have to be this. And so I put it up there, and that was my journey. I also was very like, I did not go out looking for Mulan. Mulan found me,
as is right and proper. Amazing. Well, you did good, Alan. Let's just start there. So the summary for this fic, and I apologize in advance. Could you remind me how to pronounce her father's name? Do you remember?
Oh shit. I meant to look it up before we came in here. I think they call him Fazu, but I think it should be like Shu or something like that.
It should be Shu, I would think, because it's ZHOU when it's anglicized. Yeah. So I would like to apologize up front once again for any mispronunciations that occur. I understand that it's bad. And I am going to do my best in a sincere good faith effort, but I will probably mess it up. All right, so the summary of this fic. Fa Shu gets offered an advisory position in the Imperial City instead of riding to war, and Fa Mulan finds her second attempt at matchmaking goes better than the first. Which is a great summary. It is short, sweet, to the point, and like very much the fic that I read, which I thought was lovely. So my notes. This is based on the 98 Disney movie, not the recent remake, which is important. Did you see the remake?
No, I flew to Texas once with my friend, and she watched it next to me, and I just kept peeking over at different times. And at the beginning, I was like, "Oh, cool, that looks like an awesome." I was like, "Maybe I will watch this." And then like an hour later, I peeked over, and I was like, "Oh, that looks like bullshit. That doesn't look like Mulan. I don't want to watch that."
Yeah, I've heard so many mixed reviews about the remake. I have not watched it yet, just because I don't tend to actually watch things as they come out. It takes me a while to see them. So it's just important to know that this is based very much on the Disney movie that we all know and love.
Yes.
It starts immediately after Mulan has fucked it up with the matchmaker. Mulan has fucked it up. And she's just like, oh, God damn it. Literally, it's like she comes home covered in smoke and ink and all sorts of things and is sad. It's bad news bears. And everybody's like, oh, no, this is bad. But instead of being conscripted into the army, Mulan's father is asked to go to the Imperial Palace, the Imperial City, to serve as a tactical advisor, which he accepts. Which I thought was a wonderful premise to like alter the course of the storyline, because that also makes so much sense for who her father is and what makes sense to like ask him to do. And it creates this really interesting opportunity for Mulan. Because Mulan has fucked it up with the matchmaker, her father takes her with him to the palace. One, so they can go to a different matchmaker in the city. And two, like, because he loves her. And I think the fic is really, really clear from the jump that her father cares so deeply for her and just wants what's best for her within the construct of the society that they live in. And he knows that Mulan is Mulan. Mulan just like is a goofball and like is really like not what society wants a lady to be.
A free spirit.
Yeah, she's very free spirited. She's like a great horse rider. She really just like is her own entity, and he loves her for that, but knows that it's like not doing her a service. And like at the end of the day, like it is her responsibility to get married and like follow this like course of action that has been put in front of her. So he takes her with him in the hopes that like because there's nothing left for her in their hometown at this point because she's fucked it up with the matchmaker so badly.
Right.
So they go on this like long, arduous journey over to the Imperial City, the Imperial Palace, and Mulan has a grand old time. She's like living her best life. She's on the horse, and is like having a good time. And her father's very frail, so he's in the cart, and like she's taking care of him, and like they take care of each other. And when they settle into the palace, Mulan is Mulan. She gets to like help her father as an assistant because they keep just forgetting to like get a real assistant for him. And she is like, all right, I'm gonna keep my head down and like let them keep forgetting that I'm here, but I actually have a lot of ideas and a lot of thoughts because she's a brilliant tactical mind. And she's like, what I wrote is, your girl is smart. And she like mostly gets away with it because her father like they like eat only in their quarters rather than out in public. Like they find ways to like have as much privacy as they can while they're in the palace so Mulan can be Mulan. And I kind of love that about this fic. Like their whole dynamic is really great. Her father does send her over to the rich people matchmaker though, because they are in the city and it's like the fancy matchmaker who is like very high end. And Mulan is still mostly a hot mess about it, but not as bad. Like she doesn't fuck it up as spectacularly this time around, which is good. So she like ends up on the roster, which is good, as far as we know. And while she's out at the matchmaker, who arrives into the fic, my friends, except good old General Lee, aka Shang's dad.
Yes.
And it turns out that Mulan's dad and Shang's dad are old war buddies. And so that is where we get Shang, who is, oh, that boy is so dumb. I love him so much.
What a himbo.
What a himbo. The like one of the best himbos of all time. My favorite take of Shang from the movie, this is a tangent, I didn't write this down. My favorite take of Shang from the movie is that that boy knows he's gay. He's surprised he's fallen for a woman.
Yes.
Like,
yes, he's a bisexual icon.
I love a bi king Shang headcanon, but I also just really love that, like, it's like, no, he spends all day, every day surrounded by men. Being attracted to a man is not a new thing for him.
Mm-hmm.
What's weird is that when he finds out that she's a woman, it's still cool. Anyway, so Shang shows up. They're having a conversation while Mulan is at the matchmaker. And, like, from that, Shang is like, maybe I shall go to the matchmaker.
Mm-hmm.
Which he doesn't really, like, pick at too much. And I didn't really pick at it too much. I think it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, he knows that this is his duty. And he's like, kind of like, well, what could the daughter of, you know, this man be like? Like,
yeah, it's like decorated war hero kind of a thing.
Yeah, like, I'm interested to see who this girl is because it could be cool. But he, like, kind of doesn't really know what he's doing. He just kind of, like, ends up at the matchmaker and then goes through the whole process, fills out a lot of forms. He's very freaked out by the process because he's like, I just took the emperor's, like, military test and that was very intense, and now this is all just, like, information about me, and that's like way less fun. And so he sets up a scenario where he ends up going to the matchmaker and asking for Mulan specifically, which the matchmaker is, like, kind of horrified by. Because she's like, not only is this girl fairly coarse, let's say, she's also several stations below you. You would be marrying down significantly. And Shang's like, I don't really care. That's fine. So they go for it. They have, like, a meeting. They have to ask both, like, the fathers have to also, like, handle this a little bit. I forget the specifics. I read this last night. But they end up in a meeting with the matchmaker, them two and their fathers. And it turns out they're, like, kind of a great match, even though they are abysmal at all of the matchmaking stuff. Yeah. Mulan continues to be Mulan. Like, she kind of remembers the stuff she's supposed to remember, like the poetry and the, like, art of housemaking stuff. Like, she kind of remembers it and kind of doesn't. And then Shang is like, I don't really understand poetry, but okay. And then somehow, like, the issue of the Huns comes up, and Mulan is like, wait, isn't it weird that they, like, haven't shown up yet? Like, we think that the military should really just she was like, I think this is what's happening. And Shang is like, wait, tell me more. That's actually a really good idea. And so he recognizes in her, like, a tactician's brain and is like, well, how many girls am I gonna meet who might actually be able to keep up with a soldier in this way and be, like, you know, she rides a horse great, which is awesome. Like, he's like, this is kind of a 1 in a million chance here to find somebody who might actually be able to relate to me. And Mulan is like, this is very much a 1 in a million chance because, like, wow, he's marrying so far down the ladder. And no one else is going to put up with my bullshit. So they both agree to get married. And their fathers are like, are you sure? And they're both like, yeah, I think so. And then their fathers are like, okay. And so they okay it. And then the fic ends with them, like, getting married and having a marriage ceremony. And basically Mulan agreeing to go to the military base camp with Shang, which would put them interestingly in the next phase of, like, the movie where they're, like, at basic training with all the recruits and stuff, which I thought was a really fascinating way to, like, tie back into the plot of the movie. There's clearly, like, a whole series of this because this fic ends right in the middle of, I was like, oh, this is, like, gearing up for more story. So I do intend to go read the rest of this because this was fucking delightful.
It was, wasn't it?
It was really good. Yeah. Good job, Alan.
Thank you. Good job to Vagabond Dawn. Oh my gosh. And I will say also there's, like, when I finished it, I had the exact same feeling with you. I was like, oh crap, this is going to be, like, a longer series. Which, hey, awesome, because I really enjoyed it. And then there's, like, next work in the series button at the bottom. And I was like, okay. And I finished it. And when I had Wi-Fi again, I was like, okay, I want to see what it is. And so I clicked onto the next one. And the only other thing in that series, at least, and not to say that there isn't, like, more fics on the author's profile, but the next part in that series is actually just a little deleted scene where the author was like, I really wanted to fit Mushu in there somehow, but he didn't fit the vibe. But here's a little deleted scene of how that, like, would have gone. And it's delightful. It's just as delightful as the rest of the fic. So if you're
Amazing.
interested, go and read how Mushu might have tied into that
I will have to
alternate
go.
universe.
Yeah, I'll have to go and read that because I very much was like, okay, I will save the rest of the. I want to be able to talk about this fic on its own merit and not the whole series, blah blah blah. So
Genius.
I just won't. I just won't read the rest of the series yet, but I'll like save it and go back to it. But yeah, no, it's like I could see how this author could envision a reworking of the entire movie,
Mm-hmm.
and do it really well and really grounded. I think the thing that really stuck out to me about this fic was how grounded everybody felt and how
Mm.
like because Disney movies like characters are like very over exaggerated. It's a Disney movie, like they're not meant to be real people, but this felt more akin to like how a real person might navigate this situation with still some of that sort of like air of Disney magic to it. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't so far removed from the source material that it didn't feel authentic to it, but it was very much like, oh, okay, like her and her father's relationship is really nice, like it's very mutually respectful and kind, and but like there's still obligation there that they have to navigate. Shang being a himbo is like super great. Continues to just be like who he is. I guess my only thought was like that process of him deciding that he wanted to go to the matchmaker. Like, I kind of wish they had some kind of interaction or something like that prompted it instead of him just being like, maybe I'll go. Because it
Mm-hmm.
felt a little out of left field for him. I was like, I don't know if this is a man who would like opt into something like that.
Well, if I remember correctly, I think his dad was the one who tells him you have to go to do it, or like his dad was the one who's adjusted it, because there's a line where he says, "Oh man, I wish they weren't having this conversation about daughters because I know now that the general's going to look at me and say, oh, I need to do this."
Yeah, that's true. I think my conundrum was like, it's a little weird to be like, I'm gonna go pursue this specific girl
Yeah, very fair.
after having only just like talked to her father, but it's not. That might be an American sensibility. That might be my sensibilities coming through and not necessarily an issue. It's not a problem. It wasn't weird. Like
Yeah,
I didn't have an issue with it. I just thought like, oh, it could have been cool
I would
if
have liked
like
this a little more.
yeah,
Yeah.
or like maybe he sees her in like the hallway or like in a room and is like, like she's got something going on behind those eyes that like she's not just like pouring tea. She's like there's something else there that I'm interested in learning more about,
Mm-hmm.
and then pursuing it from that perspective. But that said, this fic was great. I have no real complaints. Like no real arguments.
Yay.
It was very well written. I really enjoyed it. I thought the pacing was really great.
Mm-hmm.
Especially just for like how much it got through. It was a quick read, but it went through a lot of plot in a
Yeah.
relatively short amount of time. Like it accomplished a lot very effectively. And yeah, I would love to read the rest of this movie rewritten by this author in this construct.
Vagabond Dawn, we need it.
We need it. Woohoo.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. I agree with all of your points. I really loved it. I loved also, like you mentioned, it felt like it was really respectful about the like this concept of like how Eastern culture puts a focus on duty, like familial duty, or like this is your duty and this is what
Yeah.
you need to do, and how it wove that into the narrative really beautifully. And it's like, I know that this is my duty as a daughter, that this is my duty. I'd like to care for my family in the case of the father, and um, yeah, it was wonderful. And something about the like when I don't know if it was just where I was. I don't know if it's because I was sleep deprived when I was reading it, but I really felt like when they were traveling through the country to get to the Imperial City. Oh my god! And they have a lovely scene where Mulan's father like teaches her how to like catch the fish, like they do
Yeah.
in Be a Man. What's that? I'll make a man out of you. In that
Yeah.
sequence when they're like, haha. It was so
They're
like,
like, what?
oh. Yeah, like, go watch you'll know. Go watch the movie again. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If
but they're
anyone is like, what is this?
What noise do they make?
Yeah. Oh man, it was delightful. I found myself like immersed in the world that they created, without it ever feeling like, because I struggle with that a lot, where like sometimes authors really like to expound on like the scenery and like the climate and like what they're feeling, what are they smelling, and sometimes to me it gets to be too much, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I would rather just you let my brain fill in the gaps, and this author did that beautifully.
I totally agree.
Yeah, so I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was super fun. And you're so right about it being respectful of custom.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I don't know the intricacies of Chinese culture the way that I think would be beneficial to understand this fic. But it seemed to be extremely respectful of a culture that is a little bit more deferential, that has some gender dynamics at play that are not present necessarily in the same way in American culture. And I never felt like it was trying to blame or otherwise like cast any. It was just like, this is what it is, this is how we're gonna work, do the best that we can within this construct. And like, everybody's clearly moving from a place of love and respect for each other, even within these sort of prescribed pathways forward, which I appreciated a lot. I thought it was great.
Yeah, thank you for verbalizing that, because that was much better said for what I was feeling and thinking. So Aaron, what would you rate this?
I would give this, let's be, it's very much like a let's be bad, let's order a plate of fries for the table kind of mentality.
I know you'll have some fries.
Let's give it a 4.5.
Ooh, yes, we love a 4.5.
Good time. Yeah, definitely.
Good time.
It was really, really good.
Yay, I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, super fun.
Wonderful. All right, so now it is my turn.
Your turn. Do I remember what I sent you? It's a good question, because the answer is no.
So what you sent me, Aaron, is a fic entitled "Peace Shall Thatch the Roof and Love Shall Latch the Door." It is on Archive of Our Own, and it is written by imaginary_Golux. Golux. Golux, thank you. Are you familiar with this author?
Yeah, we've talked about their fic before.
Oh, fuck me. Shit. I'm so sorry, imaginary Golux. I enjoyed it. if that is of comfort to you. It is a Star Wars new trilogy fic between Poe and Finn. The summary reads: in a universe where Poe was never captured and FN-2187 never defected, the Resistance has fought the First Order to a standstill, and the two sides agree to a peace treaty so they can retreat and lick their wounds. One of the terms of the treaty is that, to symbolize the new detente, a representative of each side shall wed the other. And of course, the generals can only ask their most loyal fighters to step forwards. Poe's more than a little dubious about marrying a stormtrooper, but for the sake of peace, he'll do almost anything. And FN-2187 will do his duty. And I think that's a phenomenal summary. That is the fic I read. Mm-hmm. So, yes. The fic starts with General Hux calling Finn, who I'm going to call Finn. I'm not going to call him by his stormtrooper name. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's too
a lot.
Much.
It's a mouthful. So General Hux calls Finn in and says, we're in peace talks with the Resistance. We're doing this treaty. And one of the terms of this is that there's a new relationship forged between, our loyal troops and a representative of their forces. So you've been chosen to represent the First Order, and I expect you to do so. And there's this really incredible through line throughout the entire thing where Finn, without even thinking, his first instinct is always to say, yes, sir, yes, sir, or like, I will do my duty, sir. Mm-hmm. And that brainwashing, and I loved how it comes into play so much in this fic. But yeah, at the start of the fic, he doesn't even whether or not he has any hesitations, and it's clear that he does from the narrative. Mm-hmm. He immediately says, yeah, of course. I do have a question for you, Aaron, here, because it's been a number of years since I've seen The Force Awakens, which is when this takes place, to be fair. It's specific to The Force Awakens. The logic for why Finn is chosen specifically is because Captain Phasma says that he's one of the most loyal stormtroopers. Do we get that context in the movie? Do you remember? I thought it was just a random stormtrooper who defected.
That is what I think it is too. It has also been a long time since I've seen that movie.
Yeah,
and
very fair.
Yeah, I don't think that is a thing from the film. I think that is an extrapolation.
Great.
From.
I was just curious.
Yeah, well, because isn't there? I thought maybe this is fanon, but I thought there was a moment where part of the reason that Finn does break free a little bit is that something happens where he has a moment of
right.
And then
I cannot remember.
And Phasma kind of clocks it, or is implied to have clocked it. So I don't know. I think that might be something that we just have to leave as a IDK, and we can look it up later.
Listeners, if you remember, please feel free to tweet us, or if that has already died by the time this comes out, send us a Tumblr ask.
Send us a missive.
Send us a pigeon.
Yeah.
It'll find its way.
You can send us some mail. We do have the electronic mail.
Yeah, true. We do have an email. Email it to us.
Yeah, email it to us.
thickless@gmail.com.
Tumblr, TikTok.
So many ways. But someone please let me know, because I'm just deeply curious.
Don't remember.
It wasn't like an issue. I was just very curious.
I think.
Sorry, go for it.
No worries. I think part of it might be that this is an extrapolation of like, because none of the events of The Force Awakens happens in this movie, like this is where it could have landed if Finn hadn't defected.
Oh, true. Like maybe he was on his way to climbing up the ranks. Got it. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Cool. Thank you. And here's the line. So when General Hux looks like he said all he's going to say on the matter, so FN2187 salutes again and says, "Sir, yes, sir. There's nothing else to say." That line, that there's nothing else to say. Oh, so good. It's such a good line. And then, we flash over to the Resistance and Leia having to ask Poe, "Will you do this for us, for peace? If I wasn't married, I would be the one doing it." And Poe is like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And he has a great line too, which I think I can find here. He's like, "I'll do it, General. You knew I would." "I did," General Organa says sadly. Oh, so good. I felt like they nailed that like dynamic really well. Yeah. So that was really sweet. And then there's the like signing of the treaty that happens, and Finn is there along, like the generals are there along with the representatives, which is Finn and Poe. And the treaty is signed. So they've met, but like Finn is still in the stormtrooper helmet, and Poe's like, "I can't tell what kind of person this is and what's gonna happen." They get married, and he like asks Finn if he'll take off the helmet, and so he does. And it's so sweet. Like their first meeting, like Poe is immediately struck by how beautiful Finn is, and he's like, "Oh shit, this guy's exactly my type." And then they have like a lovely little interaction where Poe's like, "Do you have a nickname or something? Because that's a kind of a mouthful."
You're not calling me a number.
Yeah. And Finn was like, "Oh, I've never had anything other than that." And so then, he gets the name, which is really sweet. And they get married. They have the whole wedding. Oh my God. Poe asks Leia to walk him down the aisle, which I thought was so funny and so fucking sweet. It was so endearing. I loved it. So they have their wedding, and then the wedding night, Poe asks Finn like, "Oh, do you know about sex?" And Finn is like, "Yeah, I know about sex. I wasn't born under a rock." And Poe said, "It's like, have you had sex?"
Important follow-up question.
Yup. And Finn was like, no. He's like, "It always looks like really messy." And Poe like says, "If you're doing it right, yeah, it is."
Relatable
like,
king being like, "I have concerns about the logistics of this." I'm like, "Me too."
Yup. But then, so I think the consensus, or the Poe decides to like kind of ease him into it, and so like they cut away to black. We don't actually see the sex, but I found that pre like sex conversation like so intimate, and so like it felt like I didn't feel like I missed out on anything. Like I felt like I was there for the intimacy, for the warmth, for the care that was going to happen in that moment. So I was, kudos to that. I loved it. They find out they're very sexually compatible, and Finn of course loves it. And then they have to decide like where they're gonna live, and so Poe calls Finn over and says, "Hey, I have these options of houses on 5 different planets. What do you think?" And Finn is like, "Oh, I don't really know. I've only ever lived on the barracks, so like I'm not really picky. But I'll take a look." And so he takes a look, and one of the houses happens to be like right on a lake. And Finn doesn't know why that's important to him, but he's like, "That's the one I want to go look at." They go look at it, and Poe's inside, and kind of making sure that there's enough space for them. He wants like the second bedroom for his own office. And so he's inside looking at all of those things. And when he like goes to find Finn is just outside transfixed looking at the water. And so Poe decides this is the one we're going to buy. And Finn is excited about that. And then we cut to a few, we're doing time jumps here. So now from this point on, I think the next time we see them is either like 3 or 6 months into it. But we see how they're starting to settle into their routine, and how Finn wakes up every morning. Poe is a really deep sleeper, which I don't remember if it's from the canon, but I loved. Like, he's like, nothing's going to wake up that man, but I sneak out of bed anyway. And he goes and swims in the lake, and he comes back, and BB-8 has like a towel for him. And then he'll go inside and finds Poe making breakfast, and there's such a cute emphasis on Finn realizing what like proper food is and not just like nutrition bars or whatever the equivalent is. And it's so sweet. And then he'll go off into the nearby village to like just meet the people or to help like build a barn or to help carry groceries or to babysit. And so he's really like integrating himself into this new life he has. And Finn is realizing how much he loves it. And it's so warm and loving and caring. And I was like, oh, this is lovely. And then Poe is having this other side where, yes, he's also like feeling all of that. And he's realizing that he's fallen in love with Finn. And is kind of scared about whether or not Finn actually feels that way, because there's still a part of Poe that is nervous about Finn being a spy for the First Order. Because he's like, I don't trust the First Order as far as I can throw them. But he says, you know, he's never tried to get into my office. I've purposely have left files on the table to see if he'll look through them, and Finn never has. So he's starting to trust Finn and like really love him deeply, but is nervous about whether or not that is accurate or is reciprocated, I should say. We get to their first anniversary, and Finn has this lovely moment that is like, he didn't realize that anniversaries were things to be celebrated, but Poe like meets him out as he comes out of his morning swim and like has a beautifully laid out like picnic out in the like patio area with all of his favorite food. And then I think the descriptor was like they ate and then like had sex and then ate some more and talked and then they had some more sex, and it was like a wonderful first anniversary. And I was like, it's beautiful. It's everything I've ever wanted. Good for them.
We're like, good for them, bad for me.
Yep. So it was lovely, and I was so happy for that. And then following that chapter, Finn gets a communication from General Hux, who's like, good job. It's all gone according to plan. In approximately 10 standard hours, we're going to have, what do you call it? Like a division of stormtroopers meet you in your coordinates, and you will take command as captain. Now you've been promoted, and also you're to kill Poe.
Right,
so,
by the way.
Here you go, 10 hours. And that's where the chapter ends, and you're kind of left like, well, obviously he's not going to do this, right? But is he going to be bound by duty? And I think that's another one of those moments where that line comes up where he immediately says, sir, yes, sir. That's all, nothing else to say, kind of a thing. And you're like, no, Finn. And then immediately the last chapter opens with Finn like waking Poe up and like, Poe, emergency, Poe.
Bad things are happening.
And I found it really funny where he would literally has to be like, red alert, Commander Dameron or something like that, and Poe immediately pops up like, yes, what is it?
Yeah.
Which is really sweet. And so Finn tells him like, this is what's happened. I'm supposed to kill you, but also I'm not going to, obviously.
Right.
He's like, oh, that's very sweet. Yeah, we know where their hideout is, and we're just waiting to strike. So
yeah, we're good.
Yeah, he's like, but what you need to do is you need to go and get your stormtroopers and get them to stand down. And that's when we're going to coordinate our attacks onto the First Order headquarters. They talk with General Organa, and Leia's like very happy to see that Finn warned Poe and like was actually defected to their side, and it was so sweet. And there's even a little hint of like, oh my gosh, like a little like hint of angst where you're like, Poe says, oh, Finn, you better come back to me, and Finn says, yeah, of course, and there's nothing else to say, and he like goes out, and you're just left with like, he's gonna get hurt, something's gonna happen, oh no. But nothing happens. It all goes according to plan. The First Order is done. The division of stormtroopers that Finn is in command of, he says stand down, and they do, because they have to follow orders. That's the brainwashing bit of it. Nothing else to say. Then I love that they like talked about how General Organa comes and like they take the stormtroopers away to try and help them and fix them from the brainwashing that they've been going through, which I thought was really sweet and I really enjoyed. And then it ends with Finn and Poe professing their love for each other and how they're going to continue to live together. And it was delightful. It was a very, very sweet fic. I read this on the plane. I won't lie to you, Aaron. I was like, I'm not sure, because I read the like FN 2187. I was like, I can't read a whole fic of this. I was like, I don't know that I've got it in me. But I was like, you've got to, Alan. You've got to. And then the more I came along for the journey, the more I loved it. It was so warm and like loving and just like comfortable. I loved it. It was so good, so well done, I thought. Again, I don't really remember the films anymore, and I need to fix that because I really do like them. So I can't tell how much of their interactions necessarily were like in character versus out of character, but I really enjoyed it. I loved it.
Yay.
Yep. I was like, do I have any more? But I think it would just be me expounding for the next 5 minutes on how much I really enjoyed this fic.
Yeah. I'm so glad you like it. Did I fully remember what this fic was like when I sent it to you? No.
Great.
Yep. Did I remember my feelings about this fic being great and really enjoying it and having gone back to it several times when I was deep in my Poe Dameron and Finn phase? Yes, absolutely. So I was like, okay, I know this author. I know that I liked this fic when I read it. I'm sure that it's good. So I'm very glad that worked out. But, yeah, I think the thing that I thought was interesting about this fic is some of the dynamic of Finn being intentionally kept in the dark by his commanders, and Poe being in on it from the jump from Leia. And the navigation of that I thought was really interesting because it's a real question of, like, it really pulls into question some of the, like, free will elements of arranged marriage, where it's like Poe, like, Finn doesn't have a choice. Like, he's told what to do, and he's not even given information to make a choice. Whereas Poe gets some agency. Like, obviously, Leia's, like, pretty sure he's going to say yes, but she would never force him to do it. If he was, like, turned around and was like, absolutely not, like, she wouldn't have forced him. And he is clearly, like, kept in the loop with the Resistance the entire time. He doesn't tell Finn what's going on, but like, he knows. Like, when he wakes up and is like, yeah, we know where the First Order, like, we never trusted the First Order in the first place, like, yeah, we've been tracking them the whole time. You're like, oh, so Poe has known this whole time what has been going on and has kind of always been in on this thing of just, like, waiting for the other shoe to drop. And that is a fascinating dynamic to me, just to, like, sit with and play with and have in the narrative. And I think they resolve it pretty well, because that could turn into a really weird thing. But I think it was made really clear that, like, Poe wasn't hiding information from Finn out of, like, malice. He just, like, wasn't. It took him a long time to be sure that Finn was trustworthy. And so that I thought was really interesting. And yeah, I loved the whole thing, or at least I remember loving the whole thing.
Yeah, I know, I agree, and I'm glad you brought that up. We don't really know, like, the whole time. You kind of get inklings that Poe doesn't trust Finn fully, or really wants to trust Finn, but can't just yet. But you're like, but you have the peace treaty. At least I remember that's what I was thinking. Is like, but there's a peace treaty. It's done, right? And so I was so shocked when it was like, oh no, of course, in the bottom of my heart, I was like, I know that the First Order is going to do some bullshit, and they did, and you're like, but I remember feeling just, like, so, like, blindsided by, like, Poe being like, oh yeah, no, we've been tracking them, we're set. It's done. And I was like, oh shit, great, that's awesome.
But no, that's definitely one of the aspects of this that I thought was really interesting, is that I love them. I think they're fun. They should have been
they're
canon.
A sweet couple.
They're canon.
Oh my god. I would agree. They should have been. It's really infuriating. It's stupid. I can't believe we have canon Raylo, but not fucking Poe and Finn. Ugh. Yep. Infuriating. Anyway.
Deeply infuriating. Moving on. I fully believe. I mean, Oscar Isaac and John Boyega were both like, yeah, we played that as a romance.
Yes.
Like, yeah, you did.
Yes.
And there's a bigger conversation to be had about actors making decisions with texts that is inevitably, like, more queer and more interesting than what they have been given to do and what directed to do. Because I think that happens a lot. Where actors, I mean, it's definitely what happened with the Magicians, but there are a lot of actors who are, like, willing to go there, and then studios that are not willing to let them go there. And that, I think, is part of what the tension is when we're having conversations about, like, is this queer baiting? Which it's like, well, you can tell what the actors are doing, but the story won't let them do it. So what is that? Like, how do you quantify that? So yeah, it's just sort of an interesting conversation.
And this was a great fic, Aaron. Great pick, even though you didn't really remember much of the details, but I'm glad you remembered how it made you feel.
I trust my taste.
Good for you. You know what? Not enough people do. I love that about you.
I was like, I'm sure it's good. I'm sure it's fine.
I picked it. Of course it's good. I have it bookmarked.
I remember that it was good, so I'm sure it's fine.
I would give it a 4.7.
That's so high! Oh my god! It
was very, very good. It was very, very good.
Oh, yay. I'm so glad. Even though you forgot about Imaginary Golux.
I'm sorry, Imaginary Golux. Brain is mashed potatoes most of the time. I won't even blame the jet lag. I'm in one ear, out the other. I'm so sorry.
I just am mashed potatoes. Wow.
That was you know what? a successful round of fics,
So
a
good.
successful tag. Go us.
Well done, team. I'm very proud of us. And, succinct.
I agree. I was about to say, nice, like, bite-sized, like, you can knock them out in a day, in a few hours, and, like, I would love that.
Yeah. Well, it also helps that we were on a time crunch, but,
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, I have a potluck to get to, so I gotta get through these fics. But, yeah. No, this was great. Well done, team. Well done, everybody involved.
Erin, where can people go if they want to know more about us, want to interact, or want to otherwise just be in community with the fic list?
I really specifically was like, I'll wait for him to ask me to do this. I was like, pause. Wait for him to
I
be
will.
Like, yeah, because you don't ever want to do it, which is fine. It's fine.
It's just you've got it down to science, and it's so like, why mess with it?
Yeah, you're like, why mess with a good thing? So we have a website. It's theficlist.com, which will link off to all kinds of other things, including, but not limited to, our TikTok, which is our most active social media presence, other than our Tumblr, theficlistpodcast.tumblr.com, run by the inimitable Caitlin.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Those are the two that are really the best ones to follow us on.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter used to also be a good one to follow us on, but like IDK.
Status
As
pending.
of the recording of this podcast, it's still technically standing, but
Yep.
I read somewhere that there are no longer any known furries working at Twitter, which is usually the death knell.
No.
Yeah, they're toast. I think they're toast.
Yeah.
So maybe don't follow us on Twitter. We're still there for now. We'll see. We do not have a blue check because I decided that was not a wise financial investment.
It was not. No.
And I was like, I don't think I want to give any credit card number to this company right now that just got rid of its entire security team. Anyway, yeah, so Twitter. We are on Instagram. It's mostly a repository for old TikToks, and I haven't even been doing that. So, like, meh. Don't follow us on Facebook. We're there, but don't.
What Facebook?
We are, our podcasts can be found anywhere that podcasts are held. Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple,
Audible,
Amazon, Audible, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts. We're all over the place. Anywhere that I could put a little RSS feed and go, here you go.
You can't run from us.
Yep, we're everywhere. We do offer a reading list that is linked in the body of our episode descriptions. So if you want to read along with us, link out to any of the fics that we've read in this episode or in previous episodes, that's there. There is also a form at which you can send us fic recs. Just know that we are like really behind on those.
It's true. You're free to, but it might take us a moment.
Yeah, I mean, we have thoughts about how we might start incorporating those better in the future, and it is still a live form as of the recording of this episode. But we're gonna see how that goes. We're currently at almost 200 recommendations that we just have sitting in a form, literally in Google. So
thank you to those almost 200 people who have wrecked things.
Yeah, we have them and we appreciate them, and I do read through them and look at them and go, oh, that looks interesting, that looks cool. Oh, that's a fandom we haven't touched before. So like, we aren't ignoring it, it's just we don't know how to use it yet, so we're still working on that. We are on Ko-Fi, whatever. If you feel like we have had several incredible people donate to us, and that we still like love and support you for having done that. If you would like to contribute to the making of this podcast, that is available in our sort of like general link tree stuff we're on. You can find us, I think it's like ko-fi.com/theficlist. You can donate, and really any funds that we raise through Ko-Fi are going specifically to offset costs of this podcast. So host fees, if we ever have, anything that, if we ever do end up with like, say, an audio editor or something like that is what we will use the money for. So that is an option. Anything I missed, Alan? I don't think there's anything upcoming in the world of the fic list other than Christmas.
Yeah, no. I think you nailed all of it. Thank you.
Thanks. I did my best.
All right. Well, another one in the books.
Another one bites the dust.
Da, da.
Another one bites the dust.
Da, da.
And now we got copyright struck.
I know,
Bye.
right? All right. Well, we'll see you all in the next episode. I guess you'll hear us in the next episode is the way that actually that works.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.